As an obstetrics gynecologist, with nearly a decade of experience in one of America's busiest hospitals, I thought I had seen it all: the miracles of birth, the raw pain of labor, the joy, the fear. Nothing truly surprised me anymore, until one patient changed everything. A quiet, veiled woman in labor. No screams, no panic. Just silence and dignity. That day didn't just challenge what I knew as a doctor, it shook what I believed as a human being. What happened next took me on a journey I never saw coming, one that ended not just in a delivery room, but in a profound rebirth of my own.
I had been working as an OB/GYN in a large hospital here in the US for nearly 8 years. I'd seen just about everything: complicated births, tears, screaming, fear, and joy. Nothing really surprised me anymore. But then there was that day. A young Arab woman came in with her husband. She was in labor, obviously in pain, but something about her was different. There was no panic in her eyes, no shouting or chaos. She was quiet, focused. Even as the contractions grew stronger, she didn't scream, she didn't cry. Her strength was silent, and for some reason, it struck me. A few hours went by, and it was nearly time for my shift to end. I walked over to let her know another doctor would be taking over soon. That's standard protocol. She looked up at me, sweating, breathing heavily. And the moment I said the word doctor, something changed. She began to cry, not from pain, but from something else. Her husband stepped in, trying to explain. He said, "She doesn't want a male doctor. In our faith, she's never shown her body to any man except her father, her brothers, and me. She's never even shown her face to a stranger." I was stunned. In that moment, I laughed, half out of disbelief, and said, "I don't think there's a man left in America who hasn't seen my face." But she kept crying, and not in a manipulative way. This was real, deep, honest. I don't know what came over me, but I decided to stay. I called home, told them I'd be late. I stayed for 2 more hours, just to help her deliver. And when the baby finally arrived, healthy and safe, their gratitude moved something inside me. The way they looked at me, the way they said thank you. It wasn't just polite, it was sincere. The next day, I couldn't stop thinking about her. I went to check on her post-delivery just to see how she was doing. We talked about recovery, about her baby, and somehow about culture. I told her how many women in America suffer from infections and complications after birth because of early intimacy. She smiled and calmly said, "In Islam, the husband isn't allowed to touch his wife for 40 days after childbirth. It's a time for healing." I froze. How? How did a religion prescribe something so medically sound over 1,400 years ago? As we continued talking, a pediatrician walked in to check on the newborn. She mentioned casually, "It's best to let the baby sleep on his right side. It helps with heart rhythm and breathing." And before I could respond, the husband spoke. "We do that," he said. "It's the tradition of our prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him." That was it. That was the moment something inside me cracked open. I'd spent years chasing science, reading studies, running tests, and here was a family following the guidance of a man who lived centuries ago. Yet every bit of it aligned with what modern medicine was just now confirming. That night, I didn't sleep. I opened my laptop, searched for Islamic centers nearby. I needed to know more. This wasn't just cultural anymore. This was real. I took a month off work, booked a place in a city known for its large Muslim community. I walked into the Islamic center with a notebook full of questions and maybe a bit of doubt. But they didn't judge me. They welcomed me, not like a guest, but like someone coming home. I met Muslims from all backgrounds: Arabs, Africans, Latinos, converts like me, some doctors, some students, some mothers. They answered every question I had with patience, with logic, with evidence. They didn't pressure me, but the more I asked, the more I couldn't deny what I was seeing. I read about prayer, about charity, about modesty, about the balance between body and soul. I read verses from the Quran that described embryology, the development of the fetus, the stages of life in words that mirrored what I've learned in med school. How could this be a coincidence? After I returned home, I stayed in touch with a few sisters from the mosque. They sent me books, videos, articles. I found myself reading more about Islam than I ever had about any subject in college. One morning, I was sitting in my car before work, holding a small pamphlet someone had given me. My hands were shaking. My heart was racing. I whispered to myself, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his final messenger. That was it. I didn't hear thunder, I didn't see light beams from the sky, but I felt peace for the first time.
That moment in the hospital wasn't just a shift in my schedule, it was a shift in my soul. A silent prayer, a prophetic tradition, medical truths hidden in spiritual wisdom. I realized that Islam wasn't just a religion. It was a complete way of life, deeply rooted in compassion, science, and truth. And when I finally whispered the Shahada, not in a mosque, but alone in my car, I didn't feel fireworks. I felt peace. A peace I had never known. This is not just a story about a woman giving birth. It's a story about a doctor discovering faith. If you felt something stir in your heart today, don't scroll away. Ask questions. Seek truth. Because sometimes, the answers that change your life come from the quietest, most unexpected moments.